Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Hey there everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. I'm once again your guide, Andy Curtis. And camping, fishing, hiking, these are just a few of the things that make Montana truly the last best place, especially during the summer. So in today's episode, we'll take a look at a hiking trail and a campsite that have unfortunately been changed forever thanks to a little natural disaster that hit the state about a year ago. I'm sure you've heard of it. But in true Montana fashion, we're not letting something like a historic flood keep us from enjoying the great outdoors. So we'll have those stories coming up. We'll also see how you can help educate the next generation of Montana hunters and anglers and pass down really honored traditions here in the outdoors for years and years to come. But first, before we get to those stories, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume you like camping. I'm also going to assume you're not camping right now because you're watching me on TV. And I'm also going to assume you're probably not camping because you couldn't find a camping site. That's a problem that a lot of us have a lot of the time, especially here during the summer. But there is a new Montana law that could change that. MTN's Kelsey Marison starts things out for us.
This week is typically a busy one at campgrounds, but if you don't plan ahead, you might have some trouble finding a spot. Luckily, a new bill passed this year aimed at opening up opportunities for spur-of-the-moment camping trips, and will go into effect just in time for the 2024 season.
We've got tents and we've got a camper.
Camping season is in full swing.
What are you guys looking forward to this weekend?
All of it, and mostly spending time with our family.
But what happens when you want to take an unplanned trip and there's no spots available?
We drove out pretty early on Thursday, and we were here about noon, and everything was already booked up or reserved.
Sel Kalon and her family had high hopes for a fun weekend of camping in the Bighorn Canyon. But when they got down there, everything was taken, so they turned around and headed for Cooney Reservoir, getting the last spot in the campground.
It's mainly because they let people reserve, so we don't get the opportunity to even have a chance at getting a spot. It's either you leave a day early or you miss out.
But a new bill passed in the 2023 legislative session, House Bill 440, is aimed at opening up spots.
It requires that no more than 80% of all available campsites may be reserved in a state park, recreational area, or a public camping ground with overnight camping.
Meaning no less than 20% of spots will remain available for walk-up reservations. The bill applies to all locations with campgrounds that offer reservations and will go into effect in 2024.
Just to try to create more opportunity for residents who might have last-minute plans to be able to go to a site, say on a Thursday afternoon, and find an available spot.
Meaning families like the Kalons might have better luck when trying to find a vacant spot.
This is the first time we got to camp in 3 years, so.
Wow, so
Yeah.
you've tried past years, but you just haven't been able?
No luck.
Wow.
They've always been either booked or, because we're the type of people where we don't really plan ahead, we just like to go, you know.
At Cooney Reservoir, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
Well, there was a river rescue on the Yellowstone here recently, thanks in part to the Billings Fire Department and their drone equipped with infrared technology. And even though this story has a happy ending, the fire department and river experts don't want to always have to rely on high-tech drones to save people's lives on a river that's known for some hidden dangers. MTN's Jackie Coffin has more.
I'm here at the Blue Creek Fishing Access site near where the river rescue happened. I came down here to show you just how quickly these river currents are moving. You can see they're moving pretty fast, a lot faster than they may seem when you're driving over the bridge, and things can go wrong really quickly. Go wrong it did for a group of floaters on a southwest section of the river Sunday night.
Crews last night got dispatched around 9 o'clock last night for a river rescue.
And that's where this video begins.
The Yellowstone River is a unique river, you know, it's a big river, it's got a lot of power to it, a lot of water, a lot of volume of water moving down it.
Billings Fire Captain Matt Meeker says 7 people using blow-up tubes were floating a section of the river near Goodman Road when one raft hit a log jam and flipped, stranding 1 girl on a log and 3 more people on an island downstream as they pulled over to help. After a call to 911 from another floater who made it to shore, search and rescue teams sprung into action.
Due to the time of night, we were unable to launch our watercraft. Sheriff made the determination they could launch their jet boat.
aided by a new tool putting eyes in the sky.
So that drone's new technology for us. I believe that's the first time it's been used in a river rescue.
A ladder from the fire department pulled the girl on the log to safety, while a sheriff's boat picked up 3 others.
It has a thermal imaging camera so it can do heat sensing, and that's what it was able to do at night, was find those people quickly and then actually guide the riverboat into the proper channel to get to those people quickly.
A successful rescue. But Captain Meeker says only 2 people were wearing life jackets, not including the girl on the log.
It's not one of the lazy rivers that Montana has that people like to float in.
Cecilia Madison walks her dog by the Yellowstone River every day.
Compared to a couple of days ago, it's come back up.
Floating the river right now is not a risk she's willing to take.
It's just too fast. There's too many big logs coming down river.
And Captain Meeker says along with wearing a life jacket and bringing the right boat, river recreators need to also know their abilities.
Just be cognizant of the changing conditions right now. This river is notorious.
In Billings, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
All right, everybody, let's play a little good news, bad news. The good news is more and more Montana kids are taking hunter's education. But the bad news is there are less and less instructors to teach them. MTN's Chet Lehman has a solution to the problem, and it involves you.
There's no question the population is growing here in southwest Montana, and that means more and more young people wanting to take hunter's education courses. Couple that with the COVID pandemic, the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks is in need of some help.
Now that we're kind of on the other side of that, we're continuing to see student numbers rise again, but our numbers of hunter education instructors has kind of taken a hit. And so what we're hoping to do is invite more people to come and volunteer as hunter education instructors.
Prerequisite for taking on this role? Experience and passion.
We would invite anybody who's passionate about hunting, and who enjoys teaching and passing on their experience, their knowledge to the next generation, to come and volunteer as a hunter education instructor.
You want to help but don't think you can teach. FWP has loads of resources to help, and the need for volunteers goes well beyond the classroom.
And that could come in many different forms. It could be volunteering in a classroom and helping teach kids about firearm safety, about hunting with a bow, and how to go about doing that safely and legally, as well as volunteering at a field day where you actually get to help kids handle and use firearms, and teach them how to be safe and successful when they're out hunting.
All it takes is access to the internet or just a phone to get started as an instructor.
Best thing is to go to our website at fwp.mt.gov, and under the education section you'll find the Hunter Education Program and learn how to become a volunteer. Folks can always also reach out to our Region 3 office in Bozeman at 406-577-7900. Say, hey, I want to be a volunteer hunter education instructor. We'll get you going.
That's all it takes to be involved in the future of hunting in southwest Montana in a very positive way. In Bozeman, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
And speaking of declining numbers, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks recently announced their research efforts as they look into declining trout populations, specifically in the Big Hole, Beaverhead, and Ruby Rivers, including a fish mortality study, a juvenile fish study, and a fish health study. These studies will include tagging adult fish for monitoring of how water temperatures, flows, and angling pressure along with disease are impacting their populations. Researchers will be looking for existing or new pathogens impacting the fish and the current health of young fish in tributaries used for spawning and in the main river stems. Trout populations in these rivers have been declining for more than a decade and are at or near historic lows. FWP has also set up a website, sickfish.mt.gov, to allow people to report their observations on these rivers. And since we're talking about fish and numbers, let's talk about record-setting fish numbers for this week's MTN Outdoors trivia question. So here we go, and this week's question is a good one, so pay attention. How much did the record-setting bull trout caught here in Montana weigh, according to FWP? Is it A, 36.35 pounds, B, 20 pounds, or C, 25.63 pounds? Now I think everyone knows someone who claims to have caught a fish this big. Well, I'm here to tell you they are liars. So think about that, and we'll have the answer to this fish tale when we come back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. Thanks for spending some time with me here today. Now, before the break, I asked you this week's MTN Outdoors trivia question. And just in case you missed it, here it is one more time. How much did the record-setting bull trout caught here in Montana weigh, according to FWP? Is it A, 36.35 pounds, B, 20 pounds, or C, 25.63 pounds? All right, if you answered A, 36.35 pounds, then you are wrong. You're very wrong. An almost 40-pound bull trout? Wouldn't that be wild? Almost unbelievable, right? Come on, no, not even close to the answer. The actual answer is C, 25.63 pounds. This 37-inch state record hog was yanked out of the water and into history by James Heyer using a trolling line way back in 1916. So this is a record that's been around for a little while now. Kind of like how Yellowstone National Park has been around for a while now, and its historic buildings have been around for a while now. Well, that part almost changed here recently as a monstrous windstorm swept through our nation's first national park, knocking down trees on some of those buildings and causing damage in the park that is still building back from the floods that happened over a year ago. Place just can't seem to catch a break, can it? MTN's Penny Preston has more.
Monday's short, powerful storm blew down hundreds of trees in the park near Yellowstone Lake. Witnesses say about 7 large pines fell against the roof of the new addition of Lake Hotel. This one is only 120 years old.
We were on site here at Sandpiper maybe 15 minutes after it happened, and they're moving guests out of the building.
Miraculously, no one was hurt. The storm also hit the Fishing Bridge Road nearby.
The winds were up to like 60 miles an hour. It almost felt like my car felt like it was just gonna fly off the road.
These 2 men are on the restoration staff.
The damage to the building was pretty significant. It's kind of shocking to see that sort of damage happen so quickly.
Park spokeswoman Carol Quinn says the trees that fell were lodgepole pines.
So lodgepole pines have a very shallow root system.
Quinn says the storm also hit the Storm Point Trail south of Fishing Bridge. So crews with chainsaws are working a mile from the trailhead to
take down hazard trees, which are trees that have the potential of falling down on the trail, but also to clear out the trees that are currently covering the trail right now.
Xanterra is the concessionaire operating Lake Hotel. Although they may have to replace the entire roof on this section and nearby cabins, spokesman Rick Honinghausen has seen worse.
It's not as bad as it could have been. The damage is not as bad. Minimal impact to visitors and guests.
He says this part of the hotel will house guests tonight. And the good news is some of the downed trees will help repair other historical park structures.
We have the historic preservation crew from Old Faithful here, and they're getting logs that they need to do necessary repairs on the Old Faithful Inn. And we've got some material now that we can use on the Lake Lodge and other buildings in the park.
The cleanup work that started here in the eastern part of the park this week will continue for days and some of the work for weeks. In Yellowstone National Park, I'm Penny Preston reporting for MTN News.
All right, in these next pair of stories, we'll see how a camping site and a popular hiking trail have been changed forever, very similar to Yellowstone National Park following the flooding last year. But that's not putting them out of commission, just changing the way we use them. We'll start things off with MTN's Andrea Lutz.
From Billings, it just takes under 2 hours to get to the trailhead for Sioux Charlie Lake. The excitement brewing from the very beginning.
You know, it's one of the highlights of the Beartooth.
Sue Charlie's the perfect path for new hikers with little feet, gaining just under 600 feet over the course of 3 miles.
It's just a really beautiful spot with great, beautiful vistas in the background.
Remember to pack plenty of water, lather up on that sunscreen.
Are you excited to go up the mountain?
Yeah. It's a great trail, very accessible for all kinds of members of the family, kids, very kid-friendly, beautiful sights.
But remnants of last year's floods still exist. In fact, it hits you right away. You'll find that the parking lot is inaccessible. Tumbled and turned into waves of asphalt, this dramatic scene even taking us by surprise.
The river actually jumped its banks at the trailhead and completely undermined the trailhead parking lot.
Avid hiker Kalman Tinka saw all of that high water firsthand last year, just days before the floods hit.
We even remarked at the time just how much water was flowing through the gorge at that time.
And although the views are still incredible, unfortunately you can't pass through the gorge part of the trail any longer. It's been washed away.
About a quarter mile up, can't get any further.
Talman says the Forest Service says, luckily, there's a fix.
And there's an alternate trail that goes up and over the gorge area. So you avoid the gorge area. The trail is located near the old pit toilet that was there.
Some of us making sure to take careful steps on the rock, while others enjoy the view from Dad's back.
Kids, very kid-friendly, beautiful sights.
So we made our way back and found a spot next to the river to just take in all of the view.
You know, just get out there, have fun, and enjoy the mountains.
1 year ago, this road was impassable, washed away by the Stillwater River in last June's floods. But today, it's officially reopened and is reconnecting popular areas in and around Nye to the public.
Don't let the signs fool you. Nye Road has officially reopened.
People are out traveling and everything is beautiful again.
A large portion of the road was ripped away by roaring waters last June, forcing a closure, which cut off access to areas like the Stillwater Mine and Woodbine Campground.
They're headed most of the time to Woodbine. There's Sue Charlie, there's also a waterfall that you could hike to.
But both Nye Road and Woodbine reopened on Saturday, just over a year after the road closure.
I didn't know it was open until a friend of mine told me, Woodbine's open July 1st. What?
Larry and Renee Lasser, a Billings couple, were some of the first campers back at Woodbine and were thrilled to secure a spot.
You look at Parkside, you look at any place in Red Lights, they're reserved till October. And then we turned on Woodbine and it's wide open. You just about fall out of your chair.
It's good to see Montana people get in here. It's still nice to get in here and, find spots.
Other hot spots in the area also saw an increase in visitors. Fishtail General Store, the longest continuously open general store in Montana, opened its doors bright and early Saturday, ready to welcome back travelers.
There's already people that are coming through and going camping. There's actually been people saying that they've been coming here ever since their daughter was 6 months old.
Kirk Martin, the son of the shop's owner, said both the shop and the town of Fishtail rely heavily on the revenue the road brings in.
It really has slowed down business throughout the whole community since the flood last year.
But now that the road is back open, Martin says he's excited to meet the visitors it could potentially bring.
What are you looking forward to this summer now that the road's back open?
People coming in.
In Nye, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
Stick around, everybody, because when we come back, we'll take a look at a new approach being taken with an old profession here in Montana. There's plenty more to come on MTN Outdoors right after this.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for sticking around here for this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. Now, a growing trend in the ranching community here in Montana is focusing on stability. And that's something that MTN's Jackie Coffin got a chance to see firsthand. She has our story.
On legacy Montana ranches,
I'm the third generation on our place.
Things are beginning to change.
We have less inputs. We've been able to reduce fertilizer use, herbicide use, hay use on our cows by 80%.
As a new generation is making a living in agriculture and testing what that means for the future of their land.
We work really hard using those cows to bring back ecosystems.
The grass was
non-existent.
Pete and Megan Lannon are leading by example in the shift towards sustainable ranching.
And so a lot of folks that move here don't want to own cows. So we develop a partnership. Cows get the grass, they get a thriving ecosystem, and we learn together on how to, just manage the land and make good decisions for the future.
Winners of the 2022 Aldo Leopold Conservation Award, the Lannons hosted a group of fellow Montana producers Thursday in the Paradise Valley for the annual Montana Range Tour, showing their methods in action.
If you reach down and grab some of the dead material and take a look at it.
Joining them on the tour were the 2023 Leopold winners, Kurt and PJ Millimaki of Stanford.
Our quality of life has been a lot better. Just enjoy being producers in agriculture a lot more. It's a lot more interesting. We just pay a lot more attention to our land and how we are as producers.
And the tour itself has shifted focus, says Stacy Barta, state coordinator for the Rangelands Resource Program at the Montana DNRC.
And you see more and more producers interested in changing up the way they do things to be more sustainable, to improve rangeland health.
And even when rain clouds rolled in, ideas for the future were not dampened.
It's not as hard as you think. You just, eat the elephant one bite at a time, and you'll get there, and you'll just have great results and just feel like you're in the ecosystem and a part of that.
In Emigrant Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
All right, everybody, that should just about do it for me here this week. Thank you for spending some time with me. And remember, keep those pictures coming of you outside enjoying our fishing, our hiking, our camping. If you're doing it in the great outdoors here in Montana and it's legal, I want to see it. Send your pictures to andy.curtis@ktvh.com. And we've been getting a lot of great ones, but trust me, none of them are as good as yours. So send it to me, and it could end up at the end of a future episode. And with that, here's this week's MTN Outdoors brag board. And our pictures today come in from John and his family spending a nice, lazy summer day out there lounging on Canyon Ferry Lake. But you can't be out on Canyon Ferry without doing at least a little bit of fishing. And it looks like John did more than his fair share here, holding up a beautiful rainbow trout. Thanks a lot for the pictures, John. Please keep them coming. All right, once again, everybody, thank you for spending some time with me. And remember, send those photos my way to andy.curtis@ktvh.com. Until next week, stay safe, and I'll see you out there.